the rookie records in touchdown passes and completions last year, and he may have surprised some with his playmaking ability. He was second in QBR when pressured last year, behind only Mahomes. So Mahomes was at the golf event this weekend. He had a fan yell a question at him. Just take a listen to this.
Watch out for Justin Herbert next year. I'll see it when I believe it. Yeah.
Okay, so we're not going to make a huge deal out of this, of course, and Mahomes makes sure we don't want to. He said, I think it got taken out of context. I was talking some trash to all the Raider, Bronco, and Charger fans out there. I have a ton of respect for him as a player. But Jeff Saturday, you had a little different idea of what you think Patrick Mahomes was saying to that fan. What was that?
You better put some respect on my name, bro. That's what he's saying. I think Herbert has lost as many games that Mahomes has lost in his career in his first season, right? I think they've both lost 9 games. Been to 2 Super Bowls, won an MVP, and you gonna come chirping at me about some quarterback for the Chargers? Man, you better step back, bro. Understand who you're talking to. The hottest start in quarterback history. Respect that.
I like that. I don't know how you want to follow that one, Darlington, but go ahead and do your best. I guess, actually, let me come to Tannenbaum, because I'll give you all the credit in the world. Mike Tannenbaum, before the draft of last year, was on this show every single day. When we were leading up to the draft, there were no other sports, so we were talking about that for 2 hours a day every day. You were then saying Justin Herbert would have been your number 1 pick if you had the first pick in that draft. So at this moment, it feels like you might have had that part of it right. But do I need to slow my roll on him? I'm calling for Justin Herbert to be the MVP of the league this year. Am I jumping a little too far?
Not at all, because the tape sets the floor, the character sets the ceiling. He is a high ceiling player, great work ethic. And last year, the Chargers were 31st in the NFL in pass protection. So they added 3 linemen in terms of 2 in free agency. They added 1 in the draft, Rashawn Slater from Northwestern. So with an improved offensive line, a healthy number of weapons, they have closed the gap, in my opinion, dramatically to the Chiefs. I think they can compete this year for the playoffs, and I don't think there's a big gap between the two.
So, Jeff Darlington, how about that?
I mean, are you already giving Patrick Mahomes like the LeBron James treatment, where we forget about him each year and pick another player to get the MVP? Like Patrick Mahomes, Brady, not Justin Herbert. Patrick Mahomes is the favorite to be the MVP this year.
Patrick Mahomes won the MVP in his second season when he burst onto the scene and did better than most people were expecting. Now, Herbert obviously had a lot more play in his first year than Mahomes did. But I feel like this is a narrative award. It always has been. I like Herbert for the MVP this season. Jeff Saturday, what do you think of that?
I think you bought into the magic again, bro. Mahomes continues to show you what he did. I think everybody has this caption of what happened in the Super Bowl when they got torched because their offensive line was banged up. Man, this kid shows you each and every week how good he is. This is not a slight to Justin Herbert. This is a Greenberg, put some respect on that man's name. You're like the man out in Tahoe right now, just trying to stir the pot.
Okay, I'm going to have to admit it. That person who yelled at him from the stands, that was me. That was me. I was there. I was watching the golf. I was enjoying it. I yelled at Mahomes.
You weren't playing in that tournament?
What can you do? No, they didn't invite me to play, so I just went and showed up with my clubs and hoped someone would invite me to hit a few shots. So instead, I yelled some trash at Patrick Mahomes. It was a lot of fun. All right, guys, sit close. We have much more to do with you. But every Wednesday, we go to college football, and today begins the start of Big 12 Media Days, and all things, of course, center around the 6-time defending conference champs, 6 times, the Oklahoma Sooners. But the Sooners are still looking for their first win in the college football playoff. Our Heather Dinich believes this year might finally be the year.
Reaching the college football playoff hasn't been a problem for Oklahoma. The Sooners have been there 4 times in 7 seasons. Winning a semifinal? Well, that's a different story. Oklahoma is 0-4 in the playoff, but once again it's favored to return, and this time the Sooners have the potential to win it all. The difference is in the defense, which was one of the worst in the country until coordinator Alex Grinch was hired in 2019. The transformation has been remarkable, and it's the biggest reason why Lincoln Riley said this team has a chance to be the most balanced he's ever had. The unit, which ranked 5th in defensive efficiency in 2020, returns 10 starters. The offense is led by quarterback and Heisman hopeful Spencer Rattler. Rattler completed 68% of his passes, throwing 28 touchdowns in the process. According to ESPN's Football Power Index, Oklahoma has a 61.7% chance to win its 7th straight Big 12 title. But if the Sooners are going to be taken seriously as a national title contender, they need to avoid a 3rd straight loss to K-State and an upset in the non-conference lineup. Oklahoma hasn't won a national championship since 2000. The Sooners don't need to prove they're among the nation's elite programs. The question is if they can beat them.
And Heather joins us live, as always, on these Wednesdays. 2000, my goodness, that feels like such an extraordinarily long time ago. Let's talk about the quarterback, though, Heather, because we've seen, obviously, all the success they've had with quarterbacks in recent years with Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray, and now last year, as well as Jalen Hurts played there. What is the expectation for Rattler this season?
Well, he should enter this season as the front runner for the Heisman Trophy. And I say that because there's a lot of other talented quarterbacks and new quarterbacks out there. But when you look at what he did during their 8-game winning streak, 23 touchdowns, 5 turnovers, 45 points per game they scored during that span. And oh, by the way, he beat 3 top 15 defenses. So when you look at what he's done, whether or not he's the best this year remains to be seen, but he's certainly one of the most proven.
And the reason I wanted Mike T in this conversation today is I want to talk about projecting forward because, you know, it's never too early to start thinking about quarterbacks in the draft. And the conventional wisdom around last year's draft was, well, the coming one, 2022, doesn't have a lot of really good players. Is Rattler one of the quarterbacks that people will have their eye on? Who are the quarterbacks?
Yeah, we will have an eye on him. I don't know if he's a frontline first rounder. Green, like you just saw, he's not big and he's an effective scrambler, but he's not a high-end athlete. So he was productive last year, 28 touchdowns, and Heather talked about that great winning streak. But when it projects to the next level, I don't see these great redeeming traits that maybe Sam Howell from North Carolina. He reminds me a little bit more of a guy like Kyle Trask, Brock Purdy from Iowa State. So there will be a number of quarterbacks that will be in that first round discussion. But as it relates to Spencer Rattler, I'm just concerned about his size translating to an elite pro player.
All right, we will see. Meantime, he's got a college season to get through. But more importantly than any of that, Heather, I am told you have a message for Mike Tannenbaum today.
Yeah, look, I got to take this opportunity to say I'm kind of sick and tired of every time I see you on TV crushing my Steelers, man. I mean, Big Ben's old. I know it. He knows it. We all know he's old. The O-line was tough. Can you just bring a little more optimism, man? Just a little. Work on that little, okay?
You know, Heather, it's safe to say, like, there's no free lunches for me in Pittsburgh right now.
Yes.
You know, you and a cast of thousands, but I know why let the facts get in the way of anything.
Primanti's Brothers is not making a sandwich for you. I'll tell you that right now. But so that are you?
No.
Heather, can we get a little on the other side here? What is your projection? You love you live and die with the black and gold. Do you believe that Ben is going to have a big year and they're going to make the playoffs?